Although I'm still only 28 and I still have another full year of my 20s to go, a year and a bit, 15 months, let's not rush it. I have felt myself doing this reflecting of what my 20s has meant for me and what things I've learned in my 20s. And although I don't like to fixate on regrets where they become like this monumental thing that you can't get your attention off of, I do think there are these little things and sometimes bigger things that I wish I could have told a 20-year-old version of me, a fresh 20-year-old version of me, to help make her 20s go a little bit more smoothly. And like I said, some of these are a little bit more fun and some of these are a little bit more on the serious side, but nonetheless, I think all of them have validity. I thought this would be a fun discussion to do while I get ready today. I'm gonna start off with sunscreen, which now that I think about it, I wasn't going to include in this video, but I do wish I started wearing sunscreen earlier. I'm using the La Roche-Posay Ultra Invisible one. I am a bit of an email address addict. I have so many email addresses, and when I was younger, of course, I would make these email addresses that were cutesy and fun, like really in the username era. I feel like anyone who grew up in the late 90s, 2000s, like your username was a big deal, and I feel like your email address had to be not just something so boring. You wanted it to be clever. But unfortunately, you know, what's clever for a 10-year-old is not clever for a 28-year-old. And although I have professional email addresses for my work life, I cannot say the same for the email addresses I use in my personal life. What comes to mind when I think about this is when I sign up for loyalty programs for stores, and then I'm dreadedly at the cashier and they're asking to look up my account, and in front of a big line of people and a cashier, I have to say something like watermelon pink fuzzy 07 exclamation mark at hotmail.com. And every time this happens to me, I think about, you know, starting my professional personal account so that I don't have that embarrassing moment. And yet every time I ignore it, and then I find myself in that predicament again. So I'm sure other people cannot relate to that because you probably have changed your email address, or maybe you haven't. I would love to know, do you still use or have your very first email address or addresses? And yes, I am still using the Maybelline Rewind concealer that I have been using since I've been a teenager. It just gets the job done. What can I say? I really am a creature of habit. Another big one for me is I wish I would have started taking my laundry game more seriously. Now, one thing that I've always done that has always really helped keep my clothes stay in better condition is the fact that I air dry so much of my clothing just to keep quality from diminishing, because I feel like the dryer can just really zap your clothes. But I don't feel like I have really paid attention as much to treating stains and like pre-soaking and proper laundry sorting. Like I just wash everything in cold, and I think a lot of this is attributed to the fact that I live in an apartment where the laundry isn't in my unit, so I have to leave my apartment to do laundry, and that just makes it so that you're not really like wanting to spend a lot of time with that task. You're just trying to get it done as soon as possible. But in the last couple months, I've started doing like things that I can do in my apartment, like the pre-soaking thing, like stain removing. Like I feel like there's been 3 or 4 t-shirts that I've been setting aside in my hamper for months now that had like makeup stains by the neck, and finally like I've started tackling them. It's like, oh wow, plot twist, if you actually take the time to do it, you can make it happen. But I get really intimidated by laundry because I always feel like I'm gonna ruin something if I use the wrong product on it. But you only learn by doing it, so I just need to get it into the habit so I gain confidence in tackling certain laundry obstacles that come my way. Even learning how to get better at hand washing so that the more delicate pieces in my wardrobe aren't being put in, you know, commercial grade laundry machines that can be really tough. Maybe that sounds silly to admit, like that I haven't really taken that seriously at 28, but it's something I want to focus on more, or I have been focusing on more, and I want to increase as I finish my 20s and go into my 30s, because especially if you're spending money on higher quality items, you just want to make sure that they have as much longevity as possible. This right here is the Merit Bronzing Stick in Cyan, and the color I used on my cheeks is Cherry Blossom by Nude Sticks. And there are other ways to take care of your clothes too, like using a fabric shaver and steaming, ironing, using a depiler on your coat so that things just look nice, or cleaning your shoes after every season. Like these are things that I feel like I have been a little bit better about, but I feel like I have to be reminded to make them a priority. But I do think it should be a priority because these little things that you can do to maintain your wardrobe and make it looking fresh and new in terms of like your clothes, but also accessories like shoes, like jewelry, can go a long way in making your outfit look more put together and just making those things, you know, that you spend money on feel like they're getting treated the way they deserve to be treated. Next up, I'm going in with the Maybelline Fit Me powder. I can't emphasize enough how much I wish I started my 20s by having a really strong life admin organization system, somewhere for me to track dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, birthday gifts I give, Christmas gifts I give, warranty information, all of that stuff in one spot, because you think when in the moment you put it somewhere or file it in a folder that you're gonna remember to, you know, keep up with that system, but then the next time something comes up, you put it somewhere else, and then all of a sudden you're kind of looking at all these different devices through these different folders for different things. So getting really committed to one system for how you keep track of all these things. And like, I think appointments are really important too. Any appointment that you have, you should have some sort of note about what was discussed in that appointment, because you're gonna forget. Even if you don't forget in the next month or the next 6 months, you're gonna forget years from now what a doctor or a specialist or a dentist or an eye doctor, or, you know, whoever it is, a therapist, esthetician, dermatologist, you're gonna forget the things that they said in that appointment. And there have been too many times where I have gone to an appointment and I'm like, wait, it's been 6 months since I've seen this person. I don't quite remember what was said, or I don't know the exact wording. And now that I have this life management manual on Notion that I have made available to you, so if you want to download it for yourself and start using it, it's free. You just gotta click the link in the bio. There's just so much more flow, and like, especially with gift giving, I always forget what I gave someone like 3 years ago. Even though I already used my nude sticks to add blush, I feel like once I do my translucent powder, it needs like another like oomph. I do really like just topping up with a little bit of this YSL blush, blurring blush. It is just stunning. And on the note of organization, I also find I wish I would have started tracking the content that I consume more early in my 20s, or earlier in my 20s. I did a whole video about building a second brain on this channel not too long ago, so it'll be linked and in the card on the screen. But this idea of making sure that the valuable content that you come across, whether it's through a video on YouTube like this one, or a podcast, or an interview, an article, wherever it is that you get this information, that you're logging that piece of content, but you're also logging your thoughts about it and tagging things too, organizing it in a way that makes it useful for a future you. And I feel like tags is really important in that, so that if you are in a period where you're like, wait, I think I've consumed some content about career advice, let me see the different notes and things that I've logged throughout the years. And if you do it digitally, you can easily look up the tag career advice, hashtag career, and all of that information pops up in one place. I'm really trying to get strict about this with the Notes app on both my phone and my laptop. It's all connected together. And again, there's like a whole video I've done about this, but I think your 20s, and especially this era of 20s for any 20-year-old out there, and 30s, 40s, you know, this isn't just for your 20s, but this is a time of life where I'm probably going to be consuming the most, I would assume. And when you're consuming a lot, especially on short form platforms like Instagram and TikTok, there's a lot of value in there that we think we are processing by just consuming, by watching. But I remember as a student that when I was in a lecture and I was learning something that was super engaging, and I thought, okay, I'm never going to forget this, because this fun fact, this explanation of how this thing works is just going to be ingrained in my brain. And then inevitably when I went to go study, I was like, oh no, thank goodness I have notes. I totally forgot we talked about that in class. Memory is such a fickle thing, and I think it'd be really cool in my 30s and 40s to like be able to revisit content from this decade of my life. So it's something I wish I would have done a lot sooner, because I know that I have been consuming really interesting content, especially like in the nonfiction book category, for years now, you know, since I really graduated university. And it's a shame that some of those tidbits I feel like have been lost to time. On the note of content and social media, I do wish in my earlier 20s I had done a better job of using features to protect my peace on social media, like the unfollow button, like muting, time limits on my social media apps. These are all tools that are out there, and I feel like we can often forget to use them, but especially the unfollow button. Like there are people that I remember just seeing on my feed, public figures, people that I knew of, that like it just wouldn't leave a good taste in my mouth when I consumed their content. Social media is a place that already has a lot of noise to it, and to make it a place that has less noise that's disruptive and distracting and like something that can really affect you, not just online, but like IRL. You have to be really firm with boundaries there and not let every piece of content like come through you. And also like to use it to find more of what you want to see more of in your personal life. You know, if there are topics of interest to you, like actively seek those out. Don't just let the algorithm feed whatever it wants to feed you, and be okay with that. Like intervene at some points and say, you know, I want to see more cooking content because all I'm getting is gossip content. And maybe like gossip content feels good, but if it doesn't feel good, that's where it's like intervene. Use that search bar. Start actively participating in these platforms rather than just doom scrolling. Definitely need to moisturize my eyelid, apparently. Things that you apparently have to start doing in your late 20s. I've never had that happen. Moisturizer on a Q-tip, that's crazy work. Learn something new every day, guys. Don't forget to moisturize your eyelids. I will link all the products I'm using in today's video down in the description box below in case you're curious. I started creating content in the internet when I got into high school. So I was 14, a book blog, and then eventually in high school, towards the end of high school, I started my YouTube channel just before I turned 18. A solid 10 years of me creating content that ends up online. That's a strange thing to admit, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people can say they've spent their whole adulthood creating content for the internet. Surprisingly, you'd think that would make me someone who documents a lot of my life through photos and videos, which I do, but I'm usually paying attention to document the things that eventually I feel like I'll want to share. Not to say that I don't document things that don't end up online, but I feel like I'm just like not that person that's good at saying like, let's take a group photo, because like I think in the back of my mind I never want people to think that I'm doing it to post, because I don't post people in my personal life on the internet. I like to keep that boundary, because just because I've said yes to posting things about my life online doesn't mean that they've consented to that, and I don't want that to seem like something that I have to give up or accept just to be someone who knows me. But then I feel like I miss out on the photos and the videos of like those moments that don't end up online. So I use other ways of documenting, like memory logs and journaling, to kind of like record those moments. But I wish I had started getting in the habit of documenting more of those family get-togethers, those friend get-togethers more regularly. I'm getting better with it in my late 20s than my early 20s, but when I look back at footage of university, I don't have much that isn't online, because I just didn't have that like habit of also documenting it for real life. So if I had to go tell my younger self something, I'd say do more documenting, even if it's not for your job. Like, do the documenting also for your personal life. There is like beauty in having those things, those moments just for you. And I just want to make more of a habit of capturing that. And I think it becomes really apparent when I see like the younger kids in my family, how fast they're growing up. As people in my life get older too. I received this PR package the other day from NYX Cosmetics. It's to promote their new Smushy Matte Lip Balms, but it came with a fully designed board game with rules, instructions, playing cards. The idea is that because of the design of this packaging, these are your playing pieces on the board itself. So this is how you move. Isn't that so cute? I do want to try one. Swipe Too Smooth will probably be the one that works best for this look. I kind of like the fact that it's not like a glossy finish. It's hard to be too down on myself because of this next one, because I know my early 20s were defined first by school and then by starting this new career as a content creator and figuring out what that meant, and also global events, you know? So there was a lot going on, but I do wish I had started learning new hobbies sooner in my 20s. I feel like these last handful of years I really embraced learning completely new skills, not just hobbies like crocheting and bread making. And these things are really great because they require you to actually take time to learn something. Not that you can't like learn something from, you know, coloring in coloring books or doing puzzles or playing like a video game. Like, these are also great hobbies for like your mental health too, just like being creative releases. But I think those hobbies where you really start off as a beginner and you can see progress through your work improving is so healthy for your brain. I felt like I was missing out on that in my mid-20s, and having that back in my life, like I can tell such a difference when I'm in my flow with like trying a new bread recipe, trying a new sourdough recipe, trying a new baking technique, trying a new crochet project. These are things that's like, I don't know how to do them, and then I have to do the messy work of figuring it out, and that messy work feels so good. I don't know, I really like that space of figuring things out. And I think everyone like can have some dosages of that in their life. It's healthy to have, and it's really easy to ignore as you get older because there are other responsibilities and it doesn't feel like we have the time for it. But I do think like you got to make the time for learning new skills because that keeps you sharp. I've had different turning points in my relationship with healthy habits. I think in my early 20s with working out, I felt like it was something I had to do, I should do. You know, there's, as a woman, always I think this conversation, or at least there was for me, I don't want to like broad strokes here for everyone, but I feel like in the back of your mind, you're thinking about how, you know, you want to make sure your body looks as best as possible, whatever that means. I think my relationship, yeah, with working out was very negative because anytime that even I would do it, it's like, I dreaded it. I didn't like it. And I can't say like, I love working out all the time today at 28, but I think in my mid-20s, I started to look at movement as an opportunity for me to process and to get out a lot of like pent up energy, and it became, yes, like a tool for my physical health, but also one for my mental health. And I think a big part of that is changing the type of movement I was doing and making sure that I was finding movement that I actually found joy in doing. So for me, that's like yoga and Pilates. So that's a magical combo that I feel really good when I'm consistent with those things. Taking the time to just investigate what movement is joyous to you so that you actually want to make it a part of your regular routine, I think is important, not just in your 20s, but 30s, 40s, and beyond. Even with things like meditating, I feel like I went through a really tough season last year where I really needed something to help ground me in the present moment because my brain was getting carried away with future unknowns. And meditating, especially with the consistency that I was doing it last year and the consistency of my journaling routine with the morning pages and kind of getting out thoughts and all these worries and fears onto paper, like these were tools that were so helpful at helping me through that. And in this year with the new like phase of life, yes, I still have fears of unknowns and there's a lot of big feelings and things to work through, but it's a different intensity level, and I feel like I haven't been as consistent with those tools as a result. And it's like, I want to be someone who is kind of doing those things with that level of consistency no matter what's going on in my life. I think that's when it becomes really valuable, really helping guide you through the ups and downs of life, because those are always going to be happening. Definitely one of those things that I'm still actively working on though, and probably something I'm constantly going to be working on. What is something that you wish you would have started earlier, or something you wish you would have started in your 20s, like depending on what age you are, just something that you feel like you relate to the game with? And I'm interested to hear if any of the things I mentioned today resonated with you. I can almost guarantee that there's going to be lots of reflecting content like this as I get closer and closer to 30 and start crisising about this new decade of my life. Although maybe I can redefine what it means to turn 30 and we don't have to freak out about it. Maybe we can just like feel great things about it. But I do fear there are already trickles of me being like, panic, but it's gonna be fine. It's a privilege to get older. It's great. Like this video if you enjoyed it and enjoyed like me, you know, getting ready while I did it. I felt like it was a good BOGO deal for me. Got 2 tasks done at once, getting ready and filming a video. So wow, productivity. And I will see you all very soon with a new one. Until then, bye guys.
Opening, closing, both of these eyes. There's always a prophet